Hello, welcome to Woodline Tracking. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to start maybe a new video series on Ask ODF. I've asked brothers of mine here that are active ODF to come down, and we want to answer your guys' questions through looking through a fourth generation warfare lens. So basically, if you have a question, you can post it down below, and we'll try to get some active guys to answer the question looking through it. If it's something people seem interested in. Tonight's subject is night vision, especially the PVS-14. Now there's some questions. What is fourth gen warfare? Well, it's basically militia, paramilitary, the armed patrol citizen, the Minutemen, all will conduct fourth generation style warfare. It's different than big army, but you know, even though they're different, there is some things that are similar to them, but there's many things that's different. If you don't be an armed patriot, you need to learn fourth gen warfare. Following the U.S. Army handbook will not get you success because your missions are different, your technology is different, your goals are different. Everything's different, but you can use it to learn from, but you need to really learn fourth gen warfare. I recommend this book up here, Fourth Gen Warfare Handbook by William here, is a good book to start off with, to read, to get your feet wet on what fourth gen is. In America, it's not a lot of it's understood. Across the other countries, they have to do it because they don't have big armies, so they have to go to fourth gen warfare. So, enough of that. Let's get going. I will start this off with my experience with night vision PVS-14s and talk a little bit about it. Roughly, I've been using PVS-14s now for 12 years, plus or minus. I've had training and live world experience with PVS-14s. In my opinion, besides having an AR, to have a good PVS-14 is the biggest combat modifier you can get at nighttime. I know people argue about that, but trust me, if you do fourth generation warfare, you want a PVS-14 along with a good AR or AK, whatever you're running. If somebody was to tell me that all you need is a weapon light, I would not agree with them. There is a place for a weapon light, like in CCW, home defense, and there is a piece of the pie in fourth gen warfare with it, but it's a small piece of pie. The PVS-14 is one of the major pieces of the pie for nighttime operation in fourth gen warfare. You should try to make every ability to get a good unit, and that's what this is about, to go over what is a good unit, what should you look for from guys that actually done it, that is doing fourth gen warfare. Basically, I have two units here that I own and use. One's a green, one's a white. I've got both of them from JRH Enterprises, good guys down there that make good units. I don't know one person that hasn't bought a unit off them that hasn't liked it. Most everybody knows bought likes them. The green unit here, the FOM is 2080, so 2080. The white unit here, the FOM, is 1964, so they are similar on that. Both of these are pretty similar specs. The big question is, people ask, well, which one do you like better? If I had to pick one of these two units to run, I would pick the green. I know that's shocking to a lot of people because there's so much propaganda on white, it's not crazy. But to be honest, there isn't much difference in them. But I'll go into why I think, what is the difference and why I picked the green over the white. Like I said, the difference is negligible between the two, but basically, in my opinion, at distance, the green looks clearer, it pops more, there's a better image, it's clearer over the white. There seems like the white at distance, and once you hit like a wall, it is hard to see some of the detail. Now granted, you sure can see it. This is comparing one unit to the other, looking at the other one and trying to make a difference. They're not a huge noticeable. Also, the green unit seems like it's brighter than the white unit. And that's probably one of the reasons why the white unit is a little easier on your eyes, is because you don't have to squint as bad. But I've also noticed that the green unit will see color better, probably because there's more shades of green out there. That's the reason why they pick green, to make an image. Well, white is more limited, is my understanding, and I kind of noticed that by using these two pairs. I've noticed with white, there are all certain colors that won't pick up with certain backgrounds out there that'll just disappear, with the green, where you will see the different colors and realize something's there. But the white is easier on your eyes. I'll give you that. But it's not so much different that, like this green unit, I wore it all night many a times doing tasks and doing stuff. So but I think really what it boils down to is your training. You need to train with these. You not just walk around your backyard. You need to do stuff with them and learn how to use it, how to be professional, and get your body used to looking through it and functioning with it. I go on more and more about it, but I would pick the green unit. Now again, there's nothing wrong with a white unit. I guess the differences is very small between them, in my opinion. My recommendations to anyone that's buying night vision, any patriot buying night vision, I would recommend you buy a unit off of specs that is someplace between $2,800 to $3,500. My experience with the higher end units compared to a more cheaper unit, there is a difference, but it isn't a lot. There isn't a lot of difference in it, in my experience. You can notice something, but is it worth $1,500 more? To me, no. I'm gonna try to have a good quality unit and become good with it, train with it, and make it happen, and spend the $1,500 on a laser illuminator or something like that. Also, I prefer shooting passive over using a laser illuminator, just because that's more natural for me to pull the gun up and look. You gotta get the gun set up for all that. So that's pretty much my overview of the PVS 14. I think it's a great unit. I recommend, if you're gonna be a Patriot or a Minuteman, to get it. We'll move over here to PFC Palm. First, I want to give Palm a couple from the LT, a couple of thumbs up. One, he went and got his jump rings. He went to jump school at ODF. We offer a jump school where you learn to jump out of a plane. He went and passed his jump school and got his jump rings and jumped out of a plane all by himself and is certified in that. So basically, good job, Palm. The other thing, Palm, is he passed his nighttime lamb nav. Did it by half an hour. He had half an hour left on his time. Passed it. So we'll give him a thumbs up for that. Hopefully, he'll keep on pushing his way down and leave infantry and come to recon and come over to D Company. So, Palm, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. I'm running your standard PVS 14 monotube. This is a green. I've actually got pretty used to it. I have a lot of experience in the woods with it, and then I do find a lot of problems with people don't work the adjuster in the front for your distance, because in the woods you're going to want to bring that adjustment in a little bit closer so you're not getting tangled up in things. Certainly it is a massive force multiplier, and if you want to do better, you know, as a team, I think you should have this, because the guys who don't have night vision, they usually end up in like bad ways, especially if we go do a trek and you get to sit there and laugh and watch a guy think he's on the edge of a cliff when it's just a little 2-foot ditch and you're just about to drop your rifle because you're laughing at them so hard and they don't even know you're there. So I use a bump helmet. A lot of people use skull crushers. I did a night in a skull crusher and that was pure misery, and I wouldn't recommend that on my worst enemy. So a lot of people like dual tubes. There's a lot of different opinions on that. I have no problem moving through my house with this. I do a lot better moving in the house. In the woods, it takes me a little longer to adapt. just because the way the branches are, you get stuck in thorns because everything, you know, you can tell it's a bush, but you don't realize it's thorns until you're in it. But I prefer the mono, and then that way at night I can bring up my thermal. I can do sweeps with that. And then that way also with one eye free, I can tell if I'm looking at regular light or if I'm looking at infrared light. Because I've had guys who come out with the cheaper night vision that just has the infrared, and they see through that IR, and that, you know, it's easy to pick up with this, but that ability to see, okay, he's using an IR light and not an actual light, so you know what you're looking at, is just kind of one of the experience I've had. And plus, when we've done longer weekends where we do Friday, Saturday, and you've been doing fire watches, you're not running on a lot of sleep, you can start to see things. So it's nice to have a different plane of view. You can pop up in your left eye to know if you're actually looking at a person or if you're blending kind of the scenes. But I have never had a problem with eye strain with the green. That's just for me personally, and that's kind of the advantage to 4th gen is, you know, you get to make what works for you. You don't have to follow a set guideline of rules. It's what you like and what you want to do. You know, there are some things like you do need to have a night vision if you're going to go out at night with a team that has night vision, because if you don't have night vision and everyone else does, you're just going to compromise your team.
Amen. Amen.
And so, and then, like I said, with the lights on the rifles, I would say if you want to have them, that's fine, but you have to square away that push button. And so, that's all I've got on it.
Okay. Oh, by the way, all these PVS 14s are Gen 3. We're not talking anything less than Gen 3 here on this. You should buy only Gen 3. Amen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Corporal Dustin, let's talk about yours and use some of your experience and give the audience some wisdom.
Thank you, Ken. How I have my system set up is I have a PVS 14 Gen 3. This is made by AGM Global Vision, and it is a white phosphor tube. AGM did not list a FOM on the tube itself, although I believe it to be somewhere between 1500 and 2000. It's not an extremely high-spec tube, but I found that it's adequate in order to get the job done. Navigation, shooting under night vision, does all of those things. I personally chose white phosphor because I wanted to run that with an E-Cody at some point in the future, and I believe that the thermal E-Cody overlay would work better on the white phosphor versus the green, but I've not yet had an opportunity to test that. How I will typically run my PVS 14 is on a bump helmet, and I have had experience with bump helmet as well as a ballistic helmet. I usually choose to use a bump helmet if I'm going out in nighttime patrols in the woods because it's far lighter weight, and then I will typically tend to reserve my ballistic helmet for static defensive operations and mount operations. So how I typically run this is I'll actually run this through a J-arm on a traditional Rhino mount. I actually bought the Rhino mount off of eBay for about 20 bucks, and it's kind of wobbly a little bit, but it's perfectly serviceable, gets the job done. It's certainly not the most high-speed, low-drag setup out there, but it definitely gets the job done there. And I will run this on my right eye because I do exercise the discipline of shooting passively through your optic. I found the best optics to use that through. Definitely EOTech would be the #1. They're the unchallenged king of light transmission when it comes to shooting under night vision passively through that optic. The new Holosun Ames is also a close second. I've had some really good results with the Holosun Ames unit. I do differ a little bit from Ken on this doctrine because I know Ken likes to do the passive night shooting as a primary. I prefer using the IR light and laser as a primary. This is my preference. I feel like it's going to be a little bit easier to pick up that laser and illumination, and I do find that I do need that active illuminator in a lot of darker situations. That may have something to do with the white phosphor versus the green. I have had several situations where I use the white phosphor, and in force on force, I'm not able to identify a threat before they are able to take me out of the fight. So in that situation, the green may have potentially been a little bit better to PID that enemy threat. But I think that active illumination is a lot more important than that particular aspect. You get into really dark nights and a lot of canopy cover when you're back in the woods, and even with night vision, it's still going to require some active illumination, or you're going to be running into problems there. I would recommend, if you want to go for a total passive solution, would be to pair a PVS-14 with some kind of thermal device, such as what Palm has here. I'm interested in getting a bridge mount system with a PVS-14 on one side and a thermal unit on the other to kind of bridge that gap, although I've not had an opportunity to test that thoroughly through that system. I have had the opportunity of using a friend's binocular night vision, the dual tube setup. And my personal opinion is the dual tube setup is superior in certain situations to the PVS-14, specifically driving under night vision and for CQB operations inside of buildings. Can also be a little bit better for nighttime land nav, although that's debatable. I think you're going to have issues with both. It's more of a training issue than anything. For 90% of people, I would recommend to go with the PVS-14 because it gives you more versatility, it's less expensive, it gives you most of the advantage of a dual tube setup at half the price, and it can also give you advantages that a dual tube does not offer. The single tube is going to be lighter weight than the dual tube setup, and while you have this on one eye, your other eye is going to have natural night vision attached to it. So you can actually passively see if you're running to a light source, whereas if you were running a dual tube setup, you may be oblivious to the fact that you're running into a light source and may have isolated or identified yourself to an enemy force that may or may not have night vision. But with a PVS-14 setup, you can keep one eye open to the night settings and would allow you to more easily identify, you running into a danger zone like that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a thumbs up on the LT. A couple weeks ago, we went out on a reconnaissance patrol. I was just enjoyable with you guys out there, and you did awesome. You guys moved quietly. You stepped in good formations. You guys used cover. You used heat to hide you sometimes. The guys were out there looking for you. It was force on force, and you did a wonderful job. I just wanted to give you a thumbs up that your squad did a wonderful job out there operating in the middle, and it was dark. I mean, it was dark in this woods, and we were out there for hours and hundreds of acres trying to figure out where they're at and what's going on. You guys did a good job. You found them and everything else. So.
And that was a situation that was very difficult because we knew there was an enemy force in the AO, and so we could not go active illuminator without the threat of giving ourselves away. So in that situation, it would have been nice to have the illumination, but it was a situation where you really had to use the passive.
Yep. I'll give you a thumbs up. Okay. Corporal Harvey, well, from the LT's gonna give you a thumbs up for us. This man, the last night ops we did, he got tasked with leading a squad. He had to go out there, he got a warning order, he had to go out there in his AO and find and set up a patrol base. He had to make sure all his guys passed. They could only have 45 pounds of kit or less, including rifle on them, because that's 4th gen warfare. You don't carry too much. He goes all over that in the book, and he's right. But he took his squad out there. They made a good patrol base at a good location. He ran security patrols. He found the enemy, and he completed his warning order and did an awesome job of commanding it. So let's give him a good thumbs up. Also, you came a long way, brother, on your shooting. When you shoot somebody, when people of talent see you, they're like, who trained you? That makes sense? Because you came a long way from where you were. So that's a big shout out from the LT here. So go ahead, it's yours.
I appreciate that, LT.
Yeah.
This here is PVS-14, white phosphor, 2600 FOM, 36 SNR. This is a little bit on the high end as far as night vision goes. It was a little bit expensive. I bought it at a different place from the rest of these fellows here, my buddies. I bought it at True, at Night Vision for less. It's designed to be used in a suburban environment, so I paid a little bit more money with the option that the tube will remain intact even though I'm in a suburban environment at night with all the city lights and whatnot. Theoretically, I'm supposed to be able to see a man at 175 yards under a full moon in a clear field. Well, I don't fight in a clear field, I fight in the woods. This piece of gear is necessary for your survival. Without night vision, you have no hope whatsoever at combating somebody else that does have night vision. Once you get your rifle and you get your pistol and you start learning infantry tactics, you learn how to work in a small group, you need to have PVS 14 night vision and thermal in order to do well out in the field. Your chances of survival are much higher with it than without.
Anything about how much you paid for it? Is it worth it?
Well, I paid $4,800 for it, which was kind of expensive. If I had to do it over again, I'd have to think about it a little bit longer. Do I see any better than the other guys here that paid a little bit less with their night vision? Not really. Not really. I paid mainly for the white phosphor. When I first wore this the first few times out, I got really strong headaches wearing my ballistic helmet, wearing my night vision. But after getting used to it and learning how to operate with it, well, the headaches don't happen. I can wear it for hours and hours and there's no side effects. However, I like the green. So test out your gear when you get it. Learn from other people that have experience with different forms of night vision and make up your own mind what is best. If somebody was to offer me my money back, I would have to say no. I like this, I'm used to it, I know how to operate it, I work well with it. But if I was to start over with what I would know now, I would probably get the green and do like the lieutenant said, get some IR with it, you know, get a laser with it. Right now I do run it with the EOTech, night vision compatible EOTech. I'm real happy with that. You can be a deadly shot at night once you learn how to use your gear properly. Anyway, it's been a pleasure to work with these guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to LT James here. James is this year, wasn't it? You became lieutenant of a platoon.
Yes, sir.
And this man has done a good job of leading it, is a good leader, has a lot of wisdom. Always guys to listen to him because he is a very good leader, capable leader, and also he's a heck of a shot and he's a good teacher on shooting. You've taught a lot of people a lot of good here. You need to listen to this man. He's a great man when it comes to shooting and leadership. I'm going to turn it over to you, James.
Well, I'm relatively new to the night vision arena. This is a green phosphorus unit that I think I paid $28.50 for from JRH Enterprises. I've been very happy with the unit. It had high specs on it. I don't have the spec sheet with me to tell you what it is right now. My biggest issue is the J-arms. I've had to use a heat gun to warm them up and twist them a little bit so I can get my unit squared up in front of my eye, which might be a helmet issue or a mount issue, but whatever. I've solved that problem now. I'm still working on getting my helmet to be completely comfortable. After several hours, it does feel like you got a bowling ball on your head, but it's getting better. And I do need a little more padding in a few places. But all in all, the night vision is such an incredible force multiplier that to be effective in the woods at night, one has to have it to be anything other than a boat anchor to your squad. And if you're going to have any hope of surviving, if things go bad, without it, you better stay indoors at night. The green phosphor, I've not had any real issues with eye strain. The more I use it, the more used to it I get, the less uncomfortable it is. But I still don't have enough hours under it to really have determined what all my strengths and weaknesses are with it. But it's tremendously easier to move at night. The other thing is shooting passively with a high-end red dot, like my aim points I run, or the holographic sights the EOTechs some of these guys are running, is absolutely necessary to have something that's night vision compatible, because that's the only way that you're going to make accurate shots. Now, I do have a high-end laser illuminator that is highly effective, but the second you turn that on, you've given away your position if anybody else is out there with night vision. Now, if you're out coyote hunting at night, that makes no difference. But for force-on-force situations, you definitely do not want to use an illuminator. Moonlight, you need a little bit of light to be effective. Some of the heavy canopy we work under, where you get virtually no light, then some nights you're looking at stuff and your field of view is not more than 20 yards. But it's certainly better than not having anything. I seriously considered buying a higher end or a higher dollar white phosphorus unit, but I decided I would rather save that $1,500 and put that toward my high-end laser illuminator if I ever actually need that. And of course, you're going to have several hundred in your mount and your helmet and other accessories. So, for I think a reasonable budget, you figure on getting set up in a quality green unit with your mount, helmet, and some extra batteries for probably less than $3,500, and it is money well spent. You will never regret it.
Amen. Amen.
That's about all I have to say on the issue at this time.
Let me ask you guys, night vision or thermal, which one do you take?
Night vision.
If we're gonna only have one night vision.
Doing 4th gen, night vision,
Yeah,
night vision, yeah. Now, we will say, I'm sorry, what?
I was gonna say night vision. I do have a high-end thermal unit, and it is great for passive work where you're just defending your position to make sure nobody can creep
Amen.
up on you, because you'll see them with that thermal long before you'll see them with the night vision. But if I had to choose one or the other, I'm going to take the night vision.
I agree. Now, we know it's a lot of money, and we want to leave you here with something that we know people budgets are tight. But I would say we would agree, if you can't afford night vision, you're better off buying, Justin showed me, a $500 to $700 thermal unit. You can buy them between $500 to $700 to get you a good little thermal unit, and then buy a decent red light for your helmet or a headlamp with low lume, right? Because then you have some chance of moving around if they don't have night vision, but that'd be about the most economical. That's basically going to go over what we're going to talk about here on night vision. Like I said, if you guys have a question that you want the Ohio Defense Force to answer, we will do our best to answer it in a 4th generation lens of what we think. So, thank you for coming down. Remember, time may go on, but your life may not. And excuses will get you killed.
Yep.
Train, 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 train.